the massive arena ship hung silently above the red planet Kravos 9. From space, it looked like a glowing metal city floating in darkness. Thousands of smaller ships surrounded it from every direction. Alien empires from across the galaxy had gathered for one reason: the Deathworld Qualification Trials, the most brutal survival event ever created. Millions watched the live broadcast across hundreds of worlds. Giant screens lit up cities, military stations, mining colonies, and crowded spaceports. Everyone knew the rules. 6 trials. No mercy. No rescue. No survivors. For over 200 years, the trials had destroyed every species brave enough to enter. Some contestants were elite soldiers. Some were genetically enhanced warriors. Others came from planets with gravity twice as strong as Earth. None survived all 6 trials. Most died in the first 2. Inside the giant arena chamber, rows of alien spectators filled the seats. Some looked excited, others looked nervous. At the center of the arena stood the contestants. Only 12 remained after the selection phase. Huge reptilian warriors towered over the others. Insect-like soldiers clicked their claws impatiently. Massive armored creatures stood silently beside advanced battle machines. And then there was the human. A young woman stood quietly near the back of the line. No armor. No advanced weapons. No robotic implants. Just a gray tank top, dark pants, worn boots, and a small backpack hanging from one shoulder. Some aliens stared at her in confusion. Others laughed openly. A blue-skinned spectator pointed toward her and laughed loudly. "Is that really a human? She looks too small." Another alien shook his head. "The trials will kill her in minutes." The human girl ignored them all. Her name was Emily Carter, 24 years old. Born on Earth. She calmly looked around the giant arena with curious eyes, almost like a tourist visiting a new city. That made the aliens even more uncomfortable. Nobody smiled before the Deathworld trials. Nobody. High above the arena floor, the judges entered their platform. The crowd slowly became quiet. At the center sat High Judge Verks, leader of the qualification board. His long silver robes touched the floor as he stepped forward. His glowing yellow eyes studied the contestants carefully. Verks had seen thousands die in these trials. He could usually tell who would break first. His eyes stopped on Emily. Interesting, he thought. She was too calm. Verks activated the arena speakers. "Contestants," he announced, his deep voice echoing through the chamber, "welcome to the Deathworld Qualification Trials." The crowd cheered loudly. For 2 centuries, these trials have measured the strongest beings in the galaxy. Only those worthy may stand among the elite. Large holographic screens activated above the arena. Images of past trials flashed across them. Contestants burning alive. Monsters tearing warriors apart. Entire teams disappearing into darkness. The audience watched silently. Verks continued. "Most of you will die." The words hit the arena like cold metal. "No rescue teams will come for you. No surrender will save you. Once the trials begin, your survival depends only on your strength." One contestant nervously stepped backward. Another lowered his head. Emily simply crossed her arms. Verks noticed. Again. Too calm. He looked directly at her. "You human." Emily looked up. "State your name and homeworld." "Emily Carter," she replied, "Earth." Whispers instantly spread across the arena. Humans were still new to the larger galaxy. Many species knew little about them except strange rumors. Humans survived dangerous environments. Humans fought each other constantly. Humans smiled during combat. Most aliens believed the stories were exaggerated. Verks narrowed his eyes. You understand these trials were designed to break the strongest species in existence. Emily shrugged lightly. Okay. Several contestants looked annoyed. A giant reptilian warrior stepped forward aggressively. His heavy armor clanked loudly as he pointed at Emily. This is an insult, he growled. A weak human female enters the sacred trials. The crowd cheered loudly at his words. The reptilian warrior smiled proudly. Then Emily looked at him. What's your name? She asked calmly. The warrior lifted his head proudly. Krull of the Varkan Empire. Emily nodded slowly. Nice to meet you, Krull. The warrior frowned. She wasn't scared. That bothered him. Before he could answer, warning sirens suddenly echoed across the arena. The first trial was beginning. Massive metal doors opened on the far side of the chamber. A blast of burning heat exploded outward instantly. Several spectators stepped backward from the sudden temperature wave. Beyond the doors waited a nightmare. Rivers of lava moved through black volcanic rock. Giant firestorms twisted through the sky. The ground constantly cracked apart, releasing smoke and molten stone. Trial 1. The Furnace Run. Even experienced contestants looked nervous. Verks raised one hand. The rules are simple, he announced. Cross 10 kilometers of active volcanic terrain while carrying the furnace core. Mechanical platforms rose from the ground. Each platform held a glowing metal sphere. The furnace core. It weighed almost half the body weight of each contestant. And its surface temperature was hot enough to burn exposed skin. The previous survival record, Verks continued, was 8 minutes. The crowd became silent. Everyone understood what that meant. This trial was designed to kill. One by one, contestants approached the metal spheres. Some struggled immediately from the weight. Others activated armor cooling systems. Then Emily walked toward hers. No armor. No protection. The audience leaned forward curiously. She grabbed the glowing sphere carefully with both hands. The heat instantly burned her skin red. But she didn't drop it. Instead, she adjusted her grip and nodded slightly. Yeah, she muttered quietly, that's hot. Several spectators laughed nervously. The countdown appeared across the giant screens. 10, 9, 8. Krull cracked his neck confidently. Emily stretched her shoulders casually. 5, 4, 3. The arena lights turned red. 2, 1. A loud horn blasted across the chamber. The contestants ran forward. Most charged aggressively into the volcanic field. Emily started jogging at a steady pace behind them. Lava exploded around the path. Burning rocks crashed from above. The heat became unbearable almost instantly. One contestant screamed as the ground collapsed beneath him. He disappeared directly into molten lava. The crowd roared wildly. Another warrior collapsed after only 2 minutes. His armor failed from the temperature. Emily kept moving. Sweat rolled down her face. Her breathing became heavier. But her eyes stayed focused. Then the ground suddenly shook violently. A massive creature erupted from the lava ahead. The audience gasped in shock. The fire beast towered above the contestants. Its body looked like burning stone covered in molten cracks. Giant claws smashed into the volcanic ground. Krull fired plasma rounds at it immediately. The creature barely noticed. Then its glowing eyes turned toward Emily. The crowd became excited. Finally, the human would die. The monster roared and charged directly at her. Emily stopped moving. For one dangerous second. She smiled. The lava beast moved like an explosion. Molten rock flew through the air as the giant creature charged toward Emily. Every step shook the volcanic ground beneath her boots. The audience screamed in excitement. This is the end for the human. She lasted longer than expected. Watch closely. High Judge Verks leaned forward silently. His glowing eyes never left the arena screens. Emily quickly looked around. No escape paths. No safe ground. Only fire, smoke, and death. The creature opened its massive jaws and released a wave of burning heat strong enough to melt nearby stone. Several contestants farther ahead ran faster in panic. Emily stayed perfectly still. That confused the audience immediately. Why isn't she running? She froze. Then at the last possible second, Emily moved. The beast slammed downward with one enormous claw, but Emily rolled sideways across the black volcanic rock. Sparks exploded around her as the claw smashed into the ground where she had stood. The crowd gasped. Vast. Much faster than they expected. Emily grabbed the heavy furnace core tightly and kept moving forward. The lava beast roared angrily and chased after her again. Its giant tail crashed through stone pillars behind her. Lava splashed across the path like deadly rain. Emily jumped over a crack in the ground just before molten rock burst upward beneath her feet. Her boots were already burning from the heat. Sweat covered her face. Still, she kept running. Inside the judge platform, several officials stared at Emily's data feed. Human heart rate increasing. Body temperature critical. She should already be collapsing. Judge Verks folded his hands slowly. But she is. Meanwhile, Krull pushed forward through the volcanic field ahead of everyone else. His heavy armor protected him from most of the heat. He looked back and laughed loudly after seeing the lava beast chase Emily. The human distracts the monster for us. Some contestants agreed and pushed ahead faster. But they celebrated too early. The ground suddenly cracked open beneath one armored warrior. A river of lava exploded upward, swallowing him instantly. Another contestant slipped while carrying the furnace core. The heavy metal sphere dragged him directly into molten rock. His screaming lasted only seconds. The audience became quieter. The furnace run was doing exactly what it always did. Killing everyone. Emily finally reached a narrow stone bridge crossing a massive lava river. Smoke rose thickly into the air, making it difficult to see. The bridge shook dangerously beneath her feet. Behind her, the lava beast was getting closer. Too close. Emily glanced backward once. The creature slammed its claws onto the bridge, cracking the stone apart. Pieces began falling into the lava below. The audience stood up nervously. She's trapped. There's nowhere to go. Emily looked forward again. The bridge ahead was collapsing fast. Then she noticed something. Metal support chains hung beneath the bridge over the lava river. A dangerous idea entered her mind. Okay, she whispered, this is stupid. The bridge cracked loudly. Emily ran faster. The lava beast charged after her in rage. At the final second, Emily jumped. The crowd screamed. Instead of jumping forward, she jumped off the bridge. Several judges stood up instantly in shock. The camera feeds followed her as she fell toward the lava below. Then, Emily grabbed one of the hanging chains beneath the bridge. The audience froze in disbelief. Using the chain, she swung beneath the collapsing bridge while lava burned only meters below her boots. The heat was unbearable. Even her skin began turning red from exposure. Above her, the lava beast smashed through the bridge completely. Massive chunks of stone crashed downward into the lava river. Emily swung hard, and released the chain at exactly the right moment. She slammed onto the other side of the river and rolled painfully across the rocky ground. The crowd exploded with shocked shouting. "No way! How did she think of that? That was insane." Even Judge Verks looked surprised now. Humans were physically weaker than many species. But this human adapted too quickly. Emily slowly stood again, breathing heavily. Her arms shook from exhaustion. The furnace core burned her hands badly now. Blisters covered her skin. Still, she smiled weakly. "Still alive," she muttered. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed nearby. "Crow!" Emily looked toward the sound. The reptilian warrior had become trapped beneath falling volcanic debris. One massive stone pinned his leg against the ground while lava slowly moved closer toward him. The audience watched carefully. Krull looked directly at Emily. For the first time since meeting her, the proud warrior looked afraid. "Help me," he shouted angrily. Emily stared at him silently. This was a competition. Contestants died every minute here. Nobody expected kindness inside the Deathworld Trials. Even the judges waited curiously for her decision. Krull gritted his teeth. "I mocked you," he admitted painfully, "but please." The lava moved closer. Emily sighed tiredly. Then she walked toward him. The audience became silent again. "What is she doing? She'll lose time." Emily placed her furnace core down briefly beside the rocks. Then she pushed against the heavy debris trapping Krull. Nothing moved. The stone was enormous. Krull looked hopelessly at the approaching lava. Then Emily adjusted her footing. She took a deep breath and pushed harder. Muscles in her arms and shoulders tightened painfully. Slowly, the rock moved. Krull's eyes widened in shock. With one final effort, Emily shoved the debris aside enough for Krull to escape. The reptilian warrior quickly crawled free seconds before lava covered the area. Both contestants stepped back, breathing heavily. Krull stared at her with confusion. "You saved me." Emily picked up her furnace core again. "Yeah," she answered simply. "Why?" Emily looked at him like the answer was obvious. "Because dying sucks." For several seconds, Krull said nothing. Then unexpectedly he laughed. A real laugh. Not mocking this time. The two continued forward across the volcanic wasteland, while explosions echoed around them. Far above, millions of viewers across the galaxy watched silently. The human girl made no sense. She fought monsters without fear. She survived impossible situations. And she helped competitors inside a death trial. Judge Verk slowly sat back in his chair. Something about this human disturbed him deeply. Not because she was strong, but because she stayed calm where others became monsters. Then warning alarms suddenly appeared across the judge screens. Verks frowned. "Report." One technician looked terrified. "Sir, ancient systems below the arena are activating." "That is impossible," another judge whispered. Deep beneath the massive arena ship, hidden behind sealed metal doors untouched for centuries, giant machines slowly powered on. Cold red lights flickered through the darkness. Ancient screens awakened one by one. Then a mechanical voice echoed through the hidden chambers. "Human presence confirmed. Reaper protocol initiating." Back inside the trial, Emily finally reached the final climb toward the extraction platform. But the mountain above her suddenly began to shake violently. And something much larger than the lava beast was waking up beneath the volcano. The entire volcano trembled violently beneath Emily's feet. Cracks spread across the mountain like lightning. Burning smoke exploded into the sky while pieces of rock crashed down around the contestants. The extraction platform stood at the very top of the volcanic ridge. So close, yet suddenly much farther away. Warning sirens echoed across the arena ship. Even the spectators looked confused now. This was not part of the normal furnace run. Judge Verk stood up immediately. "What is happening?" he demanded. Technicians rushed between glowing control panels. "We are losing system control. Something inside the ancient core has activated the emergency trial systems." "That should not be possible." Verk's face darkened. "Ancient systems." Again. Far below the arena ship, hidden deep under layers of metal and stone, enormous machines continued waking from centuries of sleep. Dust fell from giant black walls covered in forgotten symbols. Red warning lights flashed through endless dark corridors. Then the same cold mechanical voice spoke again. "Human detected. Threat probability increasing. Preparing elimination response." Back inside the furnace run, the mountain split apart with a deafening roar. The audience gasped. Something massive began climbing out of the volcano itself. At first, Emily could only see glowing eyes through the smoke. Then came the claws. Huge black claws made from molten stone gripped the side of the mountain. Lava poured down the creature's body like rivers. The monster slowly rose higher and higher, until its full body towered over the volcanic field. It was enormous, much larger than the earlier lava beast. The crowd fell completely silent. One spectator whispered fearfully, "That's impossible." Judge Verk stared at the creature in horror. The Titan. The ancient volcanic monster had never appeared in the furnace run before. According to old records, the Titan was only meant to awaken if the entire arena ship faced destruction. Yet now its glowing eyes locked directly onto Emily. The mechanical voice echoed, once more through hidden speakers. "Eliminate the human." Emily looked up at the gigantic creature and blinked slowly. "Okay," she muttered tiredly, "now this feels personal." Krull stood beside her, gripping his plasma weapon tightly. Even the proud reptilian warrior looked shaken now. "That thing can destroy armies," he growled. The Titan roared. The sound shook the entire arena. Lava exploded from the mountain while giant waves of heat rolled across the battlefield. Several remaining contestants screamed as the shockwave threw them into burning cracks. Only Emily and Krull stayed standing. The extraction platform sat behind the Titan now, completely blocked. The audience watched nervously. No contestant had ever faced the Titan before. No survival records existed. Krull aimed his weapon and fired. Bright plasma bolts smashed into the creature's chest. The Titan ignored them completely. Then it attacked. One giant arm crashed downward like a meteor. Emily and Krull barely jumped away before the ground exploded beneath them. Burning debris flew through the air. Emily rolled across sharp volcanic rock, pain shooting through her shoulder. She forced herself back up quickly. The Titan moved again. Faster this time. Its giant claws sliced through stone as if it were sand. Krull fired more plasma rounds desperately while backing away. They do nothing. Emily looked around rapidly. Think. Big monsters always had weak points. The Titan's body was covered in molten cracks glowing bright orange beneath black stone armor. Heat vents. Pressure points. Then Emily noticed the largest crack, directly near its neck. A dangerous idea formed instantly. She looked at Krull. "Can you distract it?" Krull stared at her like she was insane. "That thing could crush me with one hand." "Yeah," Emily answered quickly. "That's why it'll work." Before Krull could argue, Emily grabbed a broken metal spear lying near the volcanic rocks. The weapon looked tiny compared to the Titan. Krull growled angrily but stepped forward anyway. He fired plasma blast directly into the Titan's face. The creature roared and focused entirely on him. "That's right," Krull shouted. "Fight me." The Titan swung one massive claw. Krull barely escaped as the ground exploded behind him. Meanwhile, Emily started running. Not away from the monster. Toward it. The audience erupted in disbelief. "What is she doing?" "She's suicidal." Judge Verks narrowed his glowing eyes. "No. The human had a plan." Emily sprinted across collapsing rocks while carrying the metal spear. Lava splashed around her boots as she moved closer and closer to the giant creature. The heat became unbearable. Every breath burned her lungs. Still she kept moving. The Titan noticed her too late. Emily jumped onto a fallen stone pillar and used it like a ramp. Then she leaped directly onto the creature's arm. The crowd screamed. Emily climbed rapidly across the Titan's burning stone body, while molten lava flowed beside her hands. Her skin blistered instantly from the heat. But she didn't stop. The Titan roared furiously and tried to grab her. Too slow. Emily reached the creature's shoulder. Then its neck. The glowing crack pulsed with heat directly in front of her. This was the weak point. But the metal spear would never penetrate deep enough normally. Unless... Emily looked down at the lava flowing beneath the creature. Then she smiled. "Let's try something stupid." She slammed the spear deep into the glowing crack. The Titan roared violently. But Emily wasn't finished. Using all her strength, she snapped the spear sideways, widening the crack further. Bright molten light exploded outward. Pressure built instantly inside the creature's body. The Titan realized the danger too late. Emily jumped away seconds before the monster exploded. A massive blast of lava and fire erupted from the Titan's neck, like a volcano exploding from inside. The giant creature stumbled backward, then crashed into the mountainside with enough force to shake the entire arena. Silence. Absolute silence filled the arena ship. Millions of viewers stared at their screens in shock. The Titan was dead, killed by a human carrying a broken spear. Emily landed hard against the volcanic rocks below. Pain shot through her body as she struggled to breathe. Krull hurried toward her. "You're insane," he said breathlessly. Emily coughed weakly. "Probably." Then the extraction siren sounded. The furnace run was over. Only 2 contestants survived. Krull and the human girl from Earth. The crowd slowly stood to their feet. Not cheering. Not laughing. Watching. Fearfully. Because something had changed inside the arena today. Judge Verks understood it clearly now. The human was not surviving because of luck. She adapted faster than the trials could kill her. And somewhere deep below the arena ship, the ancient machines understood that too. The cold robotic voice echoed through the hidden chambers again. Human threat level increased. Preparing trial 2. Then another voice answered from the darkness. A deeper voice. Older. Far more dangerous. Wake me when the human breaks. But the machine received no answer. Because for the first time in centuries, someone had survived the furnace run smiling. The medical chamber doors opened slowly with a metallic hiss. Emily walked inside while steam rose from her burned clothes. Small cuts covered her arms, and her hands were badly blistered from carrying the furnace core. Even after surviving the furnace run, she looked strangely calm. That made the alien doctors nervous. One tall insect-like medic stared at the injury scanner in disbelief. Her body should be collapsing. Another doctor clicked his claws anxiously. She continued fighting after severe heat exposure. How? Emily sat on the edge of the treatment bed and shrugged. Humans do dumb things sometimes. The doctors exchanged confused looks. None of them understood humans. Outside the medical chamber, the arena ship buzzed with tension. News channels across the galaxy replayed footage of Emily killing the Titan again and again. Every species reacted differently. Some called her brave. Others called her dangerous. A few military leaders quietly ordered investigations into humanity. Meanwhile, inside the judge chamber, the atmosphere had become grim. High Judge Verk stood before a giant holographic screen, showing ancient hidden files recovered from deep inside the arena systems. Files that should not exist. One judge spoke nervously. The old systems only awaken during extinction-level threats. Another looked toward the screen. And they activated because of one human girl. Verks remained silent. The screen displayed a single line repeatedly. Humanity priority threat. That disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. Humans were considered a young species. They had only recently entered galactic civilization. So why did ancient machines fear them? Before anyone could speak again, warning lights flashed across the chamber. A technician looked terrified. Trial 2 systems are ready. Verks frowned. So soon. The ancient core activated them automatically. The room became silent again. Nobody liked that answer. Far below the arena ship, hidden behind layers of forgotten machinery, something enormous slowly moved in darkness. Mechanical eyes opened one after another. Watching, waiting, learning, and all of them focused on one person. Emily Carter. Hours later, contestants gathered once again inside the central arena. This time, only 7 remained alive. The others had died during the furnace run. Some burned alive. Some fell into lava. Others were crushed during the Titan attack. The surviving contestants looked exhausted. Except Emily. She stood quietly near the back of the room, drinking water from a metal bottle. Krull noticed her immediately. The giant reptilian warrior slowly walked over. Several contestants moved aside nervously to let him pass. Krull stopped in front of Emily. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Krull lowered his head slightly. A sign of respect among his species. "You saved my life," he said. Emily tightened the cap on her bottle. "Yeah. You could have left me behind." "I know." Krull stared at her carefully. "Why risk yourself during a death trial?" Emily thought for a second. Then she answered honestly. "Because if I leave people behind when I can help them, then what's the point?" Krull looked genuinely confused by the answer. Most species enter the Deathworld trials for glory or power. Not kindness. That made humans difficult to understand. Suddenly, massive alarms echoed through the arena again. The second trial was beginning. Large metal walls slowly opened at the far side of the chamber. Cold air rushed inside immediately. Emily frowned. That's new. The giant holographic screens activated above them. Trial 2, the Ocean of BONES. Several contestants looked afraid instantly. Even Krull's expression darkened. "You know this place?" Emily asked. Krull nodded slowly. "It is cursed." The arena doors fully opened. Beyond them stretched an endless black ocean beneath dark storm clouds. Giant waves smashed against sharp cliffs while freezing rain poured from the sky. No sunlight reached the water. Only darkness. And bones. Millions of white skeletons floated across the ocean surface like drifting ice. Human bones. Alien bones. creatures nobody could even identify anymore. Emily stared quietly at the horrifying scene. "Well," she whispered, "that's uncomfortable." Judge Verx's voice echoed across the speakers. "Contestants, Trial 2 will test endurance, survival, and fear management." The giant screens displayed the rules. Cross the ocean. Reach the extraction tower. Survive. No boats. No aircraft. No rescue. Estimated survival rate, 3%. The audience became silent. Everybody knew the stories about the ocean of bones. Entire military squads had disappeared there. Something lived beneath the water. Something ancient. One nervous contestant stepped backward. "This is impossible." Another contestant dropped his equipment entirely. "We will die." Emily looked toward the ocean again. Then she noticed something strange. The waves moved unnaturally, almost like the water itself was alive. Kroll stepped beside her quietly. "Stay away from the deep water," he warned. Emily raised an eyebrow. "That's difficult when the entire trial is water." Before Kroll could answer, the countdown began. 10, 9. Several contestants prepared weapons nervously. 8, 7. Rain hammered the metal platform. 5, 4. Emily stretched her shoulders casually. 3, 2. The siren screamed. 1. The contestants jumped into the freezing ocean. The cold hit Emily instantly like a punch. Her muscles tightened painfully as dark water swallowed her whole. For several seconds, she could see nothing except blackness beneath her. Then she surfaced again, gasping. Around her, contestants swam desperately through giant waves. The extraction tower stood far away in the distance, barely visible through the storm. Too far. Much too far. The ocean suddenly shook beneath them. One contestant screamed. Something large moved underwater. Very large. A mechanical hunter activated jet boosters and tried flying low above the waves. Bad idea. Without warning, a gigantic shadow exploded upward from beneath the ocean. Massive jaws snapped shut around the machine contestant instantly. Metal screamed. Blood sprayed across the waves. Then both disappeared beneath the water. The audience froze in horror. Emily stared at the dark ocean carefully now. Something was hunting them. And it was intelligent. Another contestant vanished seconds later. No scream this time. Just silence. The remaining survivors swam faster. Rain poured harder across the endless Black Sea. Lightning flashed across the sky, briefly revealing giant shapes moving deep below the water. Emily felt her heartbeat rising. Not fear exactly. Instinct. Something dangerous was watching her specifically. Far below the ocean surface, ancient glowing eyes slowly opened in darkness. Locked onto the human. Watching carefully. Waiting for the right moment to strike. The storm grew worse every minute. Huge waves crashed across the black ocean, while freezing rain blinded the contestants. Thunder shook the sky so violently that even the water trembled. Emily forced herself to keep swimming. Her arms already felt heavy from exhaustion. The furnace run had burned most of her energy, and now the ocean of bones was draining the rest. Still, she moved forward. Ahead of her, the extraction tower flashed a faint red light through the storm. Far. Too far. Around her, contestants struggled against the freezing water. Some swam desperately. Others already looked close to collapsing. Then another scream echoed across the ocean. Emily turned quickly. One insect-like contestant disappeared beneath the waves instantly. Dark blood spread across the water surface seconds later. Nothing else remained. The audience watching from the arena became silent again. The ocean was hunting them one by one. Krull swam beside Emily through the heavy waves. Even the giant reptilian warrior looked nervous now. "We are being herded," he growled. Emily wiped water from her eyes. "Herded where?" Krull pointed ahead. The black ocean slowly narrowed between giant cliffs rising from the water. Jagged rocks surrounded the area like giant teeth. "A trap." Before Emily could answer, lightning flashed across the sky. For one brief second she saw it. Something massive moving beneath them. Much larger than before. Her stomach tightened instantly. "That's not good." Suddenly, a contestant farther ahead screamed loudly. Below us. The ocean exploded upward. A gigantic creature burst from the dark water with terrifying speed. Its body looked like a mix between a sea serpent and some ancient nightmare. Black armored skin covered its massive body, while rows of glowing blue eyes stared in every direction. Its mouth alone was large enough to swallow entire vehicles. The audience gasped in horror. The bone Leviathan. Judge Verk stood slowly from his chair. Even he looked disturbed now. The Leviathan was not supposed to appear this early in Trial 2. The creature slammed into the water, creating giant waves that threw contestants through the air like toys. Emily crashed against a floating skeleton pile and barely caught her breath before another wave hit her. The Leviathan circled beneath the water again. Watching. Hunting. One contestant panicked and fired plasma shots wildly into the ocean. Bad mistake. The creature attacked instantly. Massive jaws exploded upward from beneath him. Then he was gone. The ocean turned red for several seconds. Emily stared at the water carefully. The Leviathan reacted to movement. And fear. She remembered stories from Earth oceans. Sharks often attacked panicking prey first. Predators sensed weakness. Krull loaded another energy cell into his weapon. "We fight." Emily shook her head immediately. "No, that thing is too big." "Then what do we do?" Emily looked around quickly. The cliffs nearby were covered with sharp black rocks. Broken skeletons floated everywhere around them. Then she noticed something strange attached to several bones. Explosive emergency flares. Probably equipment from dead contestants. An idea formed in her mind. A very risky idea. Which meant it was probably her only option. "Krull," she said quickly, "can you distract it?" The reptilian warrior stared at her. "Again." Emily nodded. "You're good at being loud." Krull actually laughed once despite the danger. "That is fair." Without wasting another second, Krull roared loudly and fired several plasma blasts into the water. The ocean erupted violently. The Leviathan immediately changed direction toward him. Emily used the distraction to swim toward the floating skeletons nearby. The water around her suddenly became quieter. Too quiet. Then she felt it. Something moving directly beneath her. Vast. Emily's eyes widened. She kicked sideways just as enormous jaws exploded upward, where she had been swimming seconds earlier. The Leviathan missed her by inches. Its glowing blue eyes locked onto her instantly. Now it was angry. Emily grabbed several emergency flares from the floating bones, while swimming desperately toward the cliffs. Behind her, the creature crashed through the water in pursuit. Huge waves slammed against the rocks around her. Krull continued firing plasma rounds, but they barely slowed the monster. Emily finally reached the cliff wall and climbed onto a narrow rock ledge above the ocean. The Leviathan circled below her angrily. The audience leaned forward nervously. "She's trapped." There's nowhere left to run. Emily ignored the shouting. Instead, she looked carefully at the creature's movements. Every few seconds, the Leviathan opened glowing vents along its neck while preparing attacks. Sensitive areas. Pressure vents. Weak points. Maybe. Emily activated the emergency flares one by one. Bright red fire lit up the stormy darkness. Then she tied them together, using broken cables from old equipment. Krull finally reached the rocks beside her, breathing heavily. "You have a plan." Emily looked down at the giant creature circling beneath them. "Maybe." "I dislike that answer." "So do I." Suddenly, the Leviathan attacked the cliffs directly. Its giant body smashed against the rocks hard enough to shake the entire area. Cracks spread beneath Emily's feet instantly. The ledge began collapsing. Emily quickly looked at Krull. "When I jump, shoot its eyes." Krull blinked in shock. "You are jumping onto it." "No," Emily answered. "Near it." "That is somehow worse." Before Krull could stop her, Emily jumped from the collapsing cliff. The audience screamed. She fell directly toward the ocean, while holding the burning flares tightly in one hand. The Leviathan roared and surged upward to swallow her whole. At the final second, Krull fired directly into the creature's glowing eyes. The Leviathan jerked sideways in pain. Emily slammed the burning flares deep into the glowing vents along its neck. Then she kicked away from the monster as hard as possible. For one terrifying second, nothing happened. Then the emergency flares exploded inside the Leviathan's vents. A chain reaction ripped through the creature's body instantly. Blue fire burst from its neck. The giant monster twisted violently through the storm before crashing back into the black ocean with enough force to create massive waves across the entire trial zone. Silence followed. The Leviathan slowly disappeared beneath the dark water. Then it did not return. The audience exploded into chaos. She killed the Leviathan. That creature destroyed entire fleets. How is the human still alive? Emily floated on her back in the freezing rain, breathing heavily. Krull pulled her toward the rocks again. "You truly are insane," he muttered. Emily coughed seawater and laughed weakly. "Probably." Far below the ocean surface, hidden deep beneath the dark waters, ancient machines silently observed everything. One robotic voice echoed through the darkness. "Human adaptability exceeds projections." Another voice answered coldly. "She learns too quickly." Then a final command activated across the hidden systems. "Prepare the graveyard moon." Meanwhile, far above, Emily looked toward the distant extraction tower. Still far away. Still waiting. And something deep inside her whispered that the worst trial had not even started yet. The storm finally began to weaken. Dark clouds still covered the sky, but the massive waves slowly became smaller. Rain continued falling over the endless black ocean while floating bones drifted silently around the survivors. Only 3 contestants remained alive now. Emily, Krull, and a silent machine hunter from the cybernetic worlds. The machine contestant floated several hundred meters away, damaged but operational. One glowing red eye flickered constantly after the Leviathan attack. Nobody trusted him anymore. Especially Emily. She and Krull climbed onto a narrow black rock, rising from the ocean to rest briefly. Emily's entire body hurt. Her arms shook from exhaustion. Salt water burned the cuts on her skin, and her muscles felt heavy after hours inside the freezing sea. Krull sat nearby while reloading his plasma rifle. "You should rest," he said quietly. Emily looked toward the extraction tower in the distance. Still there. Still painfully far away. We don't have time, she answered. Krull studied her carefully for a moment. You never stop moving. Emily laughed weakly. Humans panic when we stop thinking. Krull gave a low growl of amusement. That explains much. For a few quiet seconds, only the sound of waves filled the air. Then Emily noticed something strange. The water had become too calm. No waves. No wind. Nothing. Her expression slowly changed. Krull, the reptilian warrior, immediately noticed her tone. What? Emily looked down at the ocean. It's quiet again. Krull instantly stood. Both understood now. Predators often became silent before attacking. Suddenly, warning alarms exploded across the arena speakers. Judge Verx's voice echoed urgently. Contestants, leave the water immediately. That was new. The judges never warned contestants. Emily's stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Far below the ocean surface, ancient metal doors slowly opened deep beneath the trial zone. Massive chains pulled apart while forgotten machines awakened for the first time in centuries. Cold red lights glowed in darkness. Then something enormous moved. The entire ocean shook violently. Huge waves returned instantly. The machine hunter looked around in confusion before scanning the water. Then his damaged voice processor crackled. Unknown entity detected. Threat level catastrophic. The black ocean suddenly split apart. A gigantic structure began rising from beneath the water. At first, Emily thought it was a mountain. Then she realized mountains did not move. The thing rising beneath them was larger than the Leviathan. Much larger. Ancient metal towers covered its shell-like body, while glowing blue energy lines stretched across black armor plating. A machine. An ancient war machine. The audience inside the arena ship stared in complete horror. Some spectators even began leaving their seats. One terrified judge whispered, "That's impossible." Judge Verx looked pale. The Abyssal Guardian. According to forbidden records, the Guardian had been created long before the modern galaxy existed. Entire civilizations once feared it. And now it was awake. The machine slowly rose from the ocean until its giant glowing eyes locked onto the surviving contestants. Then a mechanical voice echoed across the entire trial zone. Human identified. Primary target confirmed. Emily blinked slowly. Oh, come on. The Guardian attacked instantly. Massive energy cannons erupted from its shell, firing bright blue blasts across the ocean. The machine hunter disappeared in a giant explosion before anyone could react. Gone instantly. Only Emily and Krull remained. Move, Krull roared. Both jumped into the water again as another energy blast vaporized the rock behind them. The Guardian moved surprisingly fast for its enormous size. Mechanical tentacles burst from the ocean around the contestants, smashing through waves and cliffs alike. Emily barely dodged one metal limb before it shattered a stone pillar beside her. The extraction tower stood directly behind the Guardian now. Blocked completely. Krull fired plasma rounds at the machine desperately. The shots bounced harmlessly off its armor. That thing is indestructible. Emily kept swimming while thinking rapidly. Machines always had patterns. Weaknesses. Systems. The Guardian's glowing energy lines pulsed every few seconds before each attack. Power transfer cycles. Then she noticed something else. The energy lines connected toward one central point beneath its shell. A core. Dangerous idea incoming, she thought. Which was becoming a bad habit. Krull, she shouted over the storm. We need to get underneath it. Krell looked horrified. That is your worst idea yet. Probably. Another energy blast exploded behind them, sending giant waves crashing across the ocean. The Guardian's giant mechanical eye focused directly on Emily now. Analyzing her. Learning. Predicting movement. That made her nervous. Very nervous. Far below the arena ship, hidden ancient systems process combat data rapidly. Human subject DISPLAYS, high adaptability. CONTRMESURES failing. Then another voice spoke from deeper within the hidden systems. A colder voice. Release the Gravekeeper if necessary. Back in the trial zone, Emily and Krull finally reached the Guardian's massive shell. Up close, the machine looked even larger. Ancient alien symbols covered its armor, while glowing vents released burning steam into the ocean. Emily grabbed onto one metal plate as waves crashed around them. The machine barely noticed. We climb, she said. Krull stared upward at the impossible height above them. I truly hate humans. Emily smiled tiredly. Fair. They climbed rapidly across the Guardian's shell while explosions shook the battlefield around them. Several times, mechanical tentacles nearly knocked them into the ocean below. The machine was trying to shake them off now, which meant it knew they were dangerous. Good. Emily finally reached a glowing vent near the top of the shell. Inside, she could see blue energy flowing toward the machine's core. Too much energy. Unstable energy. Then an idea hit her. A terrible idea. The best kind. She looked at Krull. You still have plasma grenades. Krull narrowed his eyes immediately. No. Emily stared at him. You're lying. I was saving them. For what? Krull glanced at the giant death machine beneath them. Fair point. He handed her the final plasma grenade. The Guardian suddenly shook violently again. Its mechanical voice echoed loudly. Threat level increasing. Termination imminent. Emily ignored it. She carefully opened the vent panel, while blue energy burned brightly inside. One mistake here would vaporize her instantly. Krull looked nervous for the first time. If this fails... Emily nodded slowly. Yeah. Then she smiled again. But if it works... She shoved the plasma grenade deep into the energy vent. The Guardian instantly detected the danger. Warning alarms screamed across its entire body. Core instability, DATCTED. Emily grabbed Krull. Run! Both jumped from the machine seconds, before the grenade exploded inside the vent system. For one terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then blue cracks spread across the Guardian's shell. Energy overloaded everywhere at once. The giant machine let out one final distorted roar before exploding beneath the ocean in a massive blast of light and water. The shockwave threw Emily and Krull across the sea violently. When Emily finally surfaced again, the Guardian was gone. Only burning debris floated across the black ocean now. Silence slowly returned. Then extraction sirens echoed across the trial zone. Trial 2 complete. Against all logic, the humans survived again. And far below the arena ship, ancient hidden systems reached a terrible conclusion. Human threat cannot be CONTANED. Initiating Graveyard Moon Trial. Somewhere deep in the darkness, something ancient finally opened its eyes.